But Dr. James Garrow joins us because if you're up at Infowars.com, you can see this article. I'll also punch it up for people watching on television. Nobel Peace Prize nominee Obama asked military leaders if they will fire on U.S. citizens. Shock claim purported to come from one of America's foremost military leaders. Well, we've already got General Boykin, former head of Special Forces, saying our government, he believes, was giving weapons to al-Qaeda, and that's what Benghazi is as a cover-up. He believes, it's admitted. I mean, that's what's so incredible here. We don't know if it's Boykin. I'm going to try to find out here. But the point is, if you go to our article, and there was other articles that actually broke it in the Examiner and a couple others the day before, and I'm giving him credit. Our articles, though, back it up with the Army training manuals from 2010, FM 3-39.40, internment and resettlement. It also has gun confiscation, how to take over cities. You can click on that and read that. The clergy response teams, the backup that, hey, this guy's credible. That's why we got him on. And I believe he's telling the truth. But I've talked to Colonel Roberts, whose nephew graduated from West Point and was in these Army meetings telling him 10 years ago we're getting ready to confiscate, we're training to confiscate guns. I've been to the urban warfare drills. I mean, there's hundreds of data points. The Army National Guard trained in Iowa and Arcadia to confiscate guns. That was in the news. You know about this. You saw Katrina. But the litmus test is, will you fire on U.S. citizens? And they tried it in Katrina. They're doing the drills everywhere. But now they bought the 1.6 billion bullets. Now they're hiring people out of the military to move them into Homeland Security as a militarized domestic force. New York Times, scouts trained to fight terrorists and more 3.5 years ago. Those 14-year-old Explorer scouts are now 17 and a half, training to, quote, take on disgruntled vets that wouldn't turn their guns in. First paragraph of the New York Times, with dozens of color photos showing the simulated killing with paintball guns of veterans in America. I've talked to ROTC people on air and confirmed they don't train to fight al-Qaeda. They train to fight U.S. militias. They've got 4 TV shows coming out this year, demonizing American gun owners and how we're going to be the new terror force. Homeland Security is now converting over to the American people. Now I'm going to shut up and go to our guest. I wanted to back that up for people so you can go to our article, Nobel Peace Prize nominee Obama asked military leaders they will fire on U.S. citizens. Now, we're going to find out from the man himself who talked to this individual, Dr. James Garrow, Ph.D. Number one, I would say this military officer, you say is a foremost out there, needs to go public or they may die in a kayak accident like the former CIA director who exposed Waco and leaked the FLIR footage because he was upset about it. He better go or she better go public with this right now. And I think it's better for you to do that because the system knows when a general or even a Pat Tillman, someone well-known comes out, that's the danger. If I'm up here showing Army manuals, they know the average person isn't going to go look those up and find out I'm telling the truth. So I'm going to go to you, Dr. James Garrow, Ph.D. Tell us how the story unfolds, what you were told. Then I want to get into saving Chinese girls before they get smothered or used for medical experiments. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thanks, Alex. I hope you can hear me fine.
Yes, sir. We got your video Skype and got you on phone. Tell us a little bit about yourself, for those that don't know, and then get into what this military officer told you, this individual.
Well, okay. First of all, I'm an educator, but a businessman. I operate schools in China, and in the past, I've been a college president and the Teachers College principal here in Canada. So my background is education, but I also am involved in business, of course, in the country of China. I probably have the largest network of schools, foreign language schools in China. And the elites send their kids to our schools. So we know a lot about what's going on directly from the Chinese elite, the leaders. Hu Jintao's niece was in one of my schools, and the current leader, Xi Jinping, his daughter was in one of my schools, and of course is now in Harvard. But that's beside the point, but that gives you a little bit of background on me. And I should have added, you've gotten 45,000 plus, and we actually, David Knight has adopted children from China who would have been disposed of, girls. So he vouches for you as well. I mean, I know who you are, but he says you're certainly the bona fide. So thank you for that information and saving 45,000 girls that the UN and the eugenicists say are worth nothing because they're such big feminists. Now let's get into this officer, what they told you, and elaborate on this information. Shall do. I got a call the day before yesterday in the morning from this officer, former officer. He's retired. But he was quite upset that one of the people he'd encouraged to join the military was being squeezed out, that he was forced to resign his commission. And it was because a question was asked of him. Now, I've called it a litmus test, but basically what it is, he was asked if in a scenario, if in a situation where the military was called upon to go and confront people who were armed, American citizens who would not relinquish their arms, in spite of the Second Amendment right to hold arms, would you fire on American citizens? This gentleman related to me that the officer was totally flummoxed that he would be asked this question, and he said his answer was no, I would not fire on American citizens. And he was forced to resign his commission immediately.
Amazing. Tell us more about, I mean, to quote you here from the article, you basically described him as one of America's most foremost military heroes. Can you give us an idea about this person? Is this person going to go public? Can you tell us what else he relayed to you?
Well, we had an hour-long conversation, so it ran the gamut from talking about the transparency or lack of, the manipulation of the mindset of the public as a result of a media that no longer actually reports news, but now spouts Obamaism. There was that part of the conversation. His concern, though, was that the military was going to be put in an awful position where they had to look at the oath they had taken, look at the officers who were also required to give an oath to obey the orders given by those above them, including the commander-in-chief, which would make it Obama. And if those orders were, in fact, to kill American civilians because they would not give up something they had a constitutional right to in the Second Amendment, namely their guns, he was afraid that so many would be leaving the military that it would leave a vacuum, actually, in fact, for people who would really be swearing allegiance to a new king, a new dictator, Obama. And that was his concern. This man is a legend. Yes, you would know his name. Every American would know his name. And no, he will not be coming public. He'll not be bringing it out in public. He thought that the best thing he could do is put it out in a different way. I was honored that he called me.
So it's not somebody like Boykin?
I can't give you the name. He's asked me not to. So in honoring that request, I won't answer that.
Well, I know several generals, and he'd be at the top of the list. And by knowing him, I know people that have worked with him, made films with some of these generals. And there's only a list of 4 or 5 that I know that would probably start talking about something like this. I mean, I know they're training for it. I have the video. I have the training manuals. It's really not a secret. And I've had military call in who said, we've been asked, are we going to fire on citizens? And then we're shipped overseas if we won't, or kicked out. And they're forming and then basically sheep dipping, making them quasi-CIA, Homeland Security, domestic, kind of NKVD units. And I got news for the establishment. You'll be able to kill Alex Jones, take out Ron Paul in the first wave. But once you kill the canaries, I would not want to be anybody in a government uniform at that point. And that's part of the plan, too, a civil war. I want to talk about your hour-long conversation with this person and where the military is trying to kill us and take our guns. I mean, obviously, the Obama's controllers, the foreign globalists, they know this is designed to destroy the military and police, which is what you said. It gets rid of them because you're still going to have bad officers commanding them, and then brings in the new forces. Is it not, my king, time to spring the trap?
No, we must desecrate the soul and the flesh of the Creator's creation.
The chain of life broken forever. A monument to our beauty. What else, Dr. Garrow, can you relay to us in this hour-long conversation? And why did this senior household name For anybody that knows military, one of America's foremost military heroes, to quote you, why would they come to you? I mean, I know he knows you, and tell you this information and then say, get it out there, but I can't say, and then relay other things that he told you?
Well, I would suggest that he's talking in fear, that he knows that the Obama administration has a circle of death around them in terms of, I use that term because that has been said to me, because there are people who have met with an unfortunate fate, who have dared to cross Obama. But this gentleman came to me. I've known him for about 17 years, and he came to me as a result of the fact that he had read the book that I had just written about my work saving baby girls in China. And he had called me, I suggest about 3 months ago, saying, hey, I bought a copy of your book. It's wonderful, da-da-da-da. And that made the connection. So the other day when he called me, he was just saying, Jim, look, I know you're connected with all sorts of people. You're on the net. You know how to do all these things. Would you put this out for me? And I said that it would be an honor for me to do that.
Well, obviously, he's risking his life putting this out because the info's out there. And a lot of these older generals, he came to you because he doesn't understand the internet completely and how it works. You know, they still, I mean, obviously he knows the NSA is going to track this back. They're going to know the relationship. Obama knows. And, I mean, I guess he thinks that if he just puts it out through an intermediary, they won't go after him. The danger is now not going public full bore. That's when they come after you. But if they kill this foremost military hero, living hero, then everybody will know. So, I mean, in a way, I guess it's good that he did talk to you. But what else did he say about this other person he got to join the military years ago, now being asked if they'd fire on U.S. citizens? I mean, what else did he tell you about the plan to come after us?
Well, that's basically it. He was reflecting back to me what was being said to him about this poor fella who he had encouraged to get involved in the military, and the man had, gone up the ranks. Suddenly, this litmus test was being put in front of him, and it was either, you're going to agree or you're not. You're going to get squeezed out. So his concern was that good, loyal Americans who had decided to give their lives to the country in the service of the country were being put in such an awful position. I mean, this is the kind of thing that you would expect to have a test of loyalty, as it were, for people who were involved in Mao's regime or down in Chavez's regime or somewhere else like the Nazis. This is the kind of thing they would have done. This isn't what happens in a democracy. This isn't what happens with people in the services, serving the nation, putting their lives on the line. This is just not what happens. So the shock here is the knowledge that this isn't just one person it's happening to. This person came forward. This person is somebody of integrity. But my goodness, it's not just this one gentleman. It's others and women who are put in this position of and are now being asked the question, would you in fact do this? And that was the shock for this well-known American hero.
We're going to go to break, come back in a long segment and get into what's happening in China and the authoritarianism over there and what you've dealt with the killing of these little girls that you've been saving, but the countless millions you haven't been able to save, unfortunately. But I'm going to briefly, when we come back, break down for people and then get your take on this, that the military, and I've noticed even senior brass, they're experts in their area, but not in full spectrum. I know what the globalists are planning because I watch their propaganda, and they prepare the ground first before they do it. They have billed Obama as Lincoln. And now and I said this 4 years ago, now they're saying it, that he's going to have a civil war and be our God, be our king. They've got this set up.
As we saw in Katrina, and as we are watching now in New York and New Jersey, the federal government can't and won't help you in a crisis. FEMA ran out of water and MREs in days. Electricity is still off to over 1 million people. The Red Cross, who is quick to beg for money, is now slow to react. Don't put it off any longer. Get prepared today while you're on InfoWars.